Live from Los Angeles. It's time to get inside the Gamers Dome with your host, Scott Gerhardt. Bringing you all of today's gaming news and information all in one place. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Welcome to the Gamers Dome.
Welcome everyone to episode 25 of the Gamers Dome. I am your host Scott Gerhardt, and I'm actually flying solo this week. Why am I flying solo? Why not? No, actually I haven't done this show solo probably in about 4 months, and I thought, you know what, let's try this one all by myself this week. So here we are. And, well, this is normally where I would banter with my co-host, and I don't really have a co-host to banter with, so I just kind of sound like a crazy person if I'm bantering with myself. No, we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff this week. Evo happened this last weekend, and so there's a fair deal of news to come out of that. If you are a card game person, specifically Magic the Gathering, M14 was released. I attended one of the pre-releases for that, so I'll be getting to that in episode 3. We are going to be talking a lot of pinball on today's episode. It's going to pretty much be the theme of our show. So, but I think we should go ahead and we're going to go ahead and lead off with our gaming news and information like we always do. So, first things first, and for those of you who maybe are new to the show, I don't lead with the biggest stories. I lead with the stories I want to lead with because, I mean, really, what's the point of having a show if you're not going to be able to do what you want to do with it? So I'm going to open with, of all things, WWE 2K14. So I don't generally admit this in public because it's kind of one of those guilty pleasures that I have, but I've been known to turn on some WWE programming from time to time. Not as much lately as I used to, and certainly not as much now as I used to when I was a kid, which is part of what makes this first story, I don't know, it kind of touches me a bit. If you pre-order WWE 2K14, you get to unlock the character of Ultimate Warrior. So for those of you who maybe aren't wrestling fans, I'm just going to apologize as I talk a bunch of nonsense here for a while. I remember back at WrestleMania 6 when the Ultimate Warrior, as the Intercontinental Champ, defeated Hulk Hogan, the then WWF Champion, to win both titles. And he was just this larger-than-life, insane character. Like you thought he was going to kill someone in the ring. Or you thought he might kill someone outside the ring. It was very possible. The guy was absolutely nuts, which got shown by his time after leaving wrestling because he got embroiled in a number of disputes between both WCW and WWE and was basically banished from being mentioned or anything for a very long time. He dropped the ultimate part and just got known as Warrior and basically became a motivational speaker for a very long time. But he was one of those very unique characters that if you ask old school wrestling fans, they'd be like, yeah, I remember Warrior. That guy was awesome. Just the way he'd run up and shake the ropes and everything, and it was awesome. So for me, I kind of geeked out when I saw the promo that they just put out where if you pre-order it, and I have never actually purchased a wrestling game. As a mild wrestling fan, maybe I should have, but I never have. The idea of being able to play with Ultimate Warrior makes me wonder whether or not I'm going to run out and pick up 2K14. So I had to lead with that. I think it's pretty awesome. I guess now let's go on to some things that maybe are catching a little more mainstream. So this one is pretty hot off the presses, like maybe an hour or two ago. So, as I'm sure all of you know, Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming, and So they just came out with this thing where the map itself is going to be open from the very start, but all 3 of the main characters are not necessarily going to be open from the start. And that's going to be it's kind of interesting. They're wanting to go more with the plot line and kind of unlocking the characters as you go. The lead designer, Imran Sawar, said you could meet each character if you know where they are. For example, if Michael leaves after a mission and you play Trevor, you can go meet him, and you can force things from one character to another. But it's not necessarily going to be they're all open at the very beginning. So it's scheduled for a PS3 and Xbox 360 release on September 17th. Admittedly, Grand Theft Auto is not necessarily the property that I personally am most excited about. I just never really got into it, but I know a lot of people love the game. So it's going to be a big thing. It's certainly going to be something that we're going to talk more about as time goes on. So Microsoft has basically said, shame on us for coming up short about communicating the benefits of the next generation console. One of those major benefits, which may or may not be out there, and this is something that you guys should all be listening to, is the Family Share program. So there was a Family Share program which was supposed to be where the gamers could share their digital libraries with up to 10 other people, basically, so that if you bought the game under your account, your brother could play, your son could play, your daughter, your mom, your grandma. Basically, it's to make it so that if one person can play it, anyone in the family can play it. It's not designed to be abusive, but I think 10's a good number to let people out there. And then they retracted that and said, I don't think we're going to do that. But they've as much as said, guys, if you make noise, let us know. They even said, quote, if it's something that people are really excited about and want, we're going to make sure that we find the right way to bring it back. They did Mark Whitten, the chief product officer for Xbox, did an interview with IGN over this. So I personally don't think we're going to have to make much noise. Like, if they're already saying, hey, if you make noise, we'll bring it back, that's because they already know that it's something that we want. They're going to bring it back. I feel like it's maybe a little bit of a media grab here by Microsoft, but in fairness, as bad as they're getting their butts kicked by PS4 announcements and everything with that, I'd probably do everything I could to grab media attention as well if I was them. So, but certainly there's like a change.org petition out there to reinstate some of the policies. I mean, get on there, sign it. Let's just get their attention enough so that they give us what we want, or don't buy the system. Because if you don't buy the system, that's certainly going to be one way of letting them know what we want. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to practice what I can preach. I kind of like some of the features that the new Xbox One are bringing. I think I'm already committed into both the PS4 and the Xbox One, but that also might have something to do with it. I host a show about gaming and kind of need these things. So, the Lego movie. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen any previews for the Lego movie here. I've been and seen both Monsters University and Despicable Me 2 lately, both of which were fun, especially if you have kids. Even if you don't have kids, they were fun. I love Despicable Me 2 especially. So I've got to see this preview a couple of times, just sitting in the theaters. I'm not the biggest Lego guy fan in the world, but it looks really funny. I like the way that they've done it and put it together. It seems like it's going to be another one of those good for the kids, but not going to be lost on the adults who are taking them as well. So Warner Brothers Entertainment and TT Games announced that they are doing the Lego movie video game. It's going to be out in 2014, and it's going to be for, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii U, PC, 3DS, and PlayStation Vita. Is that enough platforms there for you? So it's the movie comes out in February 2014 with Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec and Zero Dark 30, voicing Emmett. There's all sorts of people in the movie as well: Morgan Freeman, Liam Neeson, Will Ferrell. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a movie I'll run out and check out myself. I'll probably wait for a tape video, but in fairness, I do that with most movies. But the video game does look like it's going to be cool. The Lego franchise in general has usually been pretty cool. So now that they've got a little bit of muscle with the movie behind it, I'm anxious to see what they're going to be able to put out. So EVO was this last weekend, and they had all the miscellaneous tournaments associated with that. And I have a number of news stories I'd like to cover about that, but let's start with a little negative press for Nintendo. And I'm a Nintendo guy. I love Nintendo. It was like the first real system. Well, okay, the first real system I owned was an Intellivision, but we're just going to call it a Nintendo because that's when I feel like the systems became modern. So I've always been a Nintendo guy, and I don't like giving Nintendo bad press. But that said, when they've earned it, they've earned it. They tried to shut down the EVO Super Smash tournament. Like they not only wanted to deny the streaming of it on Twitch, they wanted to kill the event itself. Really? I mean, we've already covered Nintendo trying to shut down people being able to make revenue off streaming their games on YouTube and stuff like that. But it's Nintendo, seriously. Listen, the bad press that you're getting from all of this isn't worth it. It's not. You need to shut up and you need to let the gamers do it because all you're gonna do is piss off your gamers. You're gonna piss off your fans, and it's not like they don't have other options. They do, and the longer you give them, the more options they're going to have. And it's not like your Wii U exactly made the biggest splash in the market. You really can't afford to be pissing off your fan base right now, and over what? What, because you want to get another piece of a pie? Well, you're not going to get a... I'm sorry, I'm going a little editorial here because this one kind of upsets me a bit. Yes, I get the fact that you have the legal right to do something, but just because you can do something does not mean that you should do it. Let the guys play. They're promoting your game. They're promoting your system. When they're on Twitch and on YouTube and they're playing the games, they are helping you. They're helping you sell. They're helping your brand recognition. They're helping everything. When you tell them they can't do it, all you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot. Like seriously, like sit back for a second, think like, oh, we're gonna make up all this lost revenue that we're making because our Wii U sucks, and we're gonna make it off Twitch and YouTube because they're not. They're just gonna go play some other game because they're pissed off at you. It's stupid. At first, they tried to deny it, but there was a lot of community backlash, and basically they stopped. They stopped even trying. EVO founder Joy Queller said, quote, they were trying to not only shut down the stream, but shut down the event, the Smash portion. It's their IP. They can do what they want. They didn't present us any option to keep it open. We tried to wigwam our way through it, and they were fine with just shutting down the streaming portion of the event. And the fans were kind of upset that it was removed from the stream schedule after the supporters helped raise almost $95,000 for charity to see the game included in tournament. So basically a large hashtag campaign on Twitter of Free Melee, and the number one story overall on Reddit got Nintendo to back down. And that's just what it is. And I hope that Nintendo gets the message. This is just not good for you. Stop it. Don't be stupid. Though, amongst people who were playing at the EVO event was a former American Idol winner, actually. Taylor Hicks from the 5th season. I used to watch American Idol for a while there, and I remember Taylor. He's an interesting guy. He apparently got 257th place, which there were 900-something people, so he definitely finished better than most people did. So it's not just some celebrity. I mean, yes, 257 is not big, but it's kind of cool when you've got a guy who won American Idol who's going to EVO and playing a Smash Brothers event. So now the EVO stream itself brought in about 1.7 million viewers on Twitch, which I love you all 1.7 million of you. You are part of the reason that I'm able to do this show and people will listen to me, because gaming is becoming like very legitimate, if you will. Like, I don't know. I mean, the thought 5 years ago of sitting down and just watching people play video games, like on the internet or on TV or anything, might have been a little bit odd to anyone other than the most hardcore gamers. Well, 1.7 million tells me that we actually can get a few people to watch some video games. So the Melee tournament brought in about 134,000 watchers. The Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition tournament got about 125,000 concurrent users, and the absolute maximum came during the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 tournament, which capped out at 144,848 concurrent users. That's a lot of people to watch other people play video games. I love it. I absolutely love it. These numbers keep getting larger and larger, and it just goes to show that this is legitimate here. Like, people playing video games, this is a legitimate competition. Which, speaking of it being a legitimate competition, apparently the U.S. government is starting to recognize it as legitimate as well. The U.S. government very recently has recognized League of Legends players as professional athletes. Now, that's pretty big because that allows them to get awards visas, and they can actually come to the country and play, and it's a lot easier for them to be able to do it on that type of a visa. I guess this is something Riot and the government had actually been working on. So Nick Allen, the esports manager for Riot Games, said, so the United States government recognizes League of Legends pro players as professional athletes and award visas to essentially work in the United States under that title. This is groundbreaking for esports. Now we can start looking at international players when they come over. It's a much easier process because they're actually recognized by the government. This is a huge thing. And certainly this was not something that just happened overnight. There was a lot of lobbying and a lot of talking to make this happen. But this this is monumental. This is one of the first major steps to fully legitimizing esports as like real. Like, when you've got the government recognizing these as athletes and allowing them to come over to perform under that banner, that's huge. So, I mean, I'm sure this is going to open the floodgates for a lot of other stuff, but I'm very happy to see that happen. There are going to be more news out of EVO. 5 new characters coming to Street Fighter 4. There will be an update called Ultra Street Fighter 4. It includes 5 new characters and 6 stages, amongst other features. It's going to be released 2014 digitally and at retail. We're going to have, looks like, Rolento, Poison, Hugo, and Elena will be... they're going to be coming in. They're going to be included in Capcom Street Fighter X Tekken, and the 5th and final new character has never been in a Street Fighter game. So not exactly sure who that's going to be yet, but obviously this is a major property for them, and it's something they're always working on. And I like it. It's going to be $15 for the new character stages and balance updates. It'll come out Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC simultaneously sometime in early 2014. If you don't already have the disc version, you can get everything on a disc for, it looks like $39.99 when it comes out. New systems that are going to be playable. Comic-Con. I'm not talking a lot about Comic-Con, really, because it's coming. Yeah, it's coming up this weekend. And I'm sure I'll have all sorts of Comic-Con stuff to talk about next weekend, but we don't know anything yet. Right now, it's just all the standard pre-show hype. Though we do know that the PS4 is going to be playable at Comic-Con. It's going to be the first time it's going to be playable to the public. The Xbox One is also going to be playable there. So, like at the Sony booth, you'll be able to try out games like Drive Club, Octodad, and Knack. And there'll be other things for like the Vita and the PS3. But it's nice to see that there is going to be a way to actually try this out in person to the public. And it's a bit ahead of its release, but it's going to be nice for the public to get their hands on it and try it. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of buzz about both of these systems once they actually hit in the players' hands. Again, next Tuesday, I expect every third word out of my mouth is going to be Comic-Con. So I'm just going to let the news happen before that. So, last but not least, or maybe least, I don't know. It depends on what you, where your priorities are. Valve kicked off its Steam Summer Sale 2013. There's all sorts of discounts on games that are being offered between now and July 22nd, alongside new trading cards and sales-specific Steam badges. Some of the deals, for example, BioShock Infinite for $29.99. Endless Space for $10.19, Defiance for $13.59, Left 4 Dead 2 for $4.99, Mars for $13.39, Scribblenauts Unlimited $4.99, Hotline Miami $2.49, and then things like Call of Juarez, Gunslinger, Tokitori 2, and Don't Starve are a few others. There are a few others out there as well. If you are one of those Steam people, certainly get out there. This is going to be a really good chance to get some of their best games a lot cheaper than you normally would. So, that's going to conclude the news section for this week. When we come back, we are going to be speaking with John Weeks and David Trotter. They are working on the Museum of Pinball, which is something I personally have a huge interest in. It's going to be our Kickstarter of the week, and we have both of them on. So we will talk to them when we come back on the other side of the break. You are listening to the Gamers Dome on the Drawing Board Radio Network. Scott here for Loot Crate. If you want to get the best and coolest geek and gamer stuff delivered right to your door every month, then you've got to get a Loot Crate. We've been doing these unboxings for, 3 or so months on YouTube, and they're just awesome. I mean, each month you're getting like $30 worth of stuff shipped right to you with a new theme every month, like Equip, Mashup, Token, and more. I've yet to open a disappointing box, and knowing these guys, I never will. You can get your own today with a special discount just for our listeners. They're normally $13.37 a month, but head over to lootcrate.com and enter in the promo code DOME to get 10% off. For the price of a cheap game download, you get shirts, bags, toys, plushes, stickers, and more. You never know what they're going to ship that month. It's great. So just head over to lootcrate.com, sign up with promo code DOME for 10% off. You'll be glad you did. Again, that's loot, LOOT crate.com, promo code DOME for 10% off. Welcome everyone back to the Gamers Dome. So, at this time, I would like to introduce my guests. We are going to be speaking now with John Weeks. John Weeks is the founder of the Museum of Pinball, and David Trotter is the head of communications and marketing for it. So, let's go ahead and bring them on here. Hey, John and David, how are you doing?
How you doing, Scott?
Good, Scott. Glad to be with you.
Glad to have you guys. So you guys are working to try to put together the Museum of Pinball. So I have to start with the opening question because I myself am a huge pinball fan, and I have been for years now. What is it about pinball that is made it such a passion for you? And well, you start in either order that you want to go in.
Well, it started as a passion for me probably when I was about 12 years old. I was playing pinball as a kid, and then I just enjoyed playing the game, getting the replays. The machine was so big, it's just so small, and it's just so fun to play. And later on, as I got older, I started getting involved with, the artwork of it, the way they look, and as an adult, just started collecting them and started putting them all through my house and stuff like that. So it just became a crazy nut, just collecting pinball machines and playing them all the time.
Yeah, and for me, I actually grew up in the 80s playing video games, and although I played pinball a little bit here and there, I really didn't get into it until I was in college, and there were a number of pinball machines in a place called The Cove at our college, and so we would hang out as friends and play there, and that's when I really began to develop an appreciation for the game.
Excellent. So pinball kind of, for lack of a better term, it took a little bit of a dive there for a while. It really dropped in popularity, but it seems to really be kind of picking back up now. Why do you think that it's actually making such a resurgence in the gaming industry?
I would have to say it's something to do with a lot of people played it as a child back in the 70s and early 80s, and now those child who spent their lunch money on pinball machines back then and now got credit cards, and they're in their 40s something. So, if you can't necessarily afford a Corvette or something like that, you're going through a crisis, you might just pick up a pinball machine to try to relive your youth a little bit. And now there's a lot of bars, restaurants and barcades out there where there are pinball machines and bars, and people are being pinball. So that's made it pretty strong. I would say pinball sales have tripled a lot in the last year, I'd probably say.
The other thing too, as John mentioned, is as people have gotten older, like John and I, we've had kids of our own, and so we want to introduce them to something that was magical and exciting for us as a kid. So there's a desire not only to recapture the passion for ourselves, but it's a desire to pass it along to our kids and have them enjoy something. And I think when our kids get a hold of an actual machine and they see that this is a real ball bouncing off, real flippers, there's this unique tactile aspect to the game that can't be experienced on something that's just in a screen in front of them. And so it's a whole different experience for young people.
Yeah, I personally agree, and I think a lot of that's true. It's kind of a generational thing. It's coming back, and I love it. So let's get to the Kickstarter here, because this is what we want to make happen, and this is what we need to make happen. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about the Museum of Pinball and the Kickstarter project behind it.
Well, John's been collecting pinballs for the last, 15, 20 years, and has a collection of over 500 pinball machines now. And for the last few years, he's been looking to launch the world's largest museum of pinball, and been looking for an appropriate location for that. We both live in Orange County, Long Beach area, and so because space can be so expensive to lease, and there's the challenge of landlords. John in particular has been looking for a space that would be perfect. So John, why don't you tell him more about the details or the specifications of the actual space that you've purchased?
Well, the space in total is 18 acres. We've got 127,000 square feet of building space, and we're planning on opening 40,000 square feet of it right away. You know, if the Kickstarter campaign is successful, we wish to open 40,000 square feet of it right away to put the pinball machines in there. We've got a 5-acre park in the back that we want to develop for camping, or what they might say glamping, which is going to be like vintage trailers where you could come stay the night right on the campus. It's a really big location, and it's right down the street from the biggest outlet mall on the West Coast. They get a lot of visitors there. We've got the Morongo Casino, which is about the next exit over. We're right off the 10 freeway there. Palm Springs is only 20 minutes away. So it's a really good location, and it's only about an hour and a half drive from Los Angeles to Orange County. So right now we're just trying to get the Kickstarter to go. We need some money for the improvements on it. We've got the building. We own the building. So it's just a matter of getting the money for the interior to remodel it, to get the museum open. So that's why we're launching the Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, and that's the uniqueness of this project is that we own the building. We're not leasing, so we're not at the whim of a landlord to either raise the lease or rent or, kick us out or sell it. So we own the building, and we own over 500 pinball machines. So we're really set to open up something that's an incredible venue. The challenge is that we don't have the money in order to go about doing some of the most basic renovations, which is taking care of the electrical and air conditioning. Although the building has plenty of electrical power to cover everything and plenty of air conditioning to cover everything, the electrical wiring needs to be reoriented and dropped in specific locations for the pinballs themselves. And then secondly, the air conditioning the ductwork needs to be rerouted. There's also a ceiling that needs to be torn out. It's a little too low. We need to do some work in terms of painting the facility. Although $150,000 may seem like a lot of money to raise, at the same time, it's very little money when you're looking to do basic renovations on 40,000 square feet. So because John has done such an incredible job collecting the pinballs and leveraging his financial resources to buy the property, unfortunately, we just don't have the $150,000 to do the renovations. And that's when we turn to crowdfunding or sourcing to look to people who love pinball in order to help make this dream come true. And that's where Kickstarter comes in.
Yeah, I watched the video, and I was actually kind of surprised, like with everything that you guys want to do, that you were able to do it for $150,000. Like some people would be like, "Oh, that's a lot of money." No, for what you guys want to do, that's not that much money at all. For the size of the place and to make this happen, I'm kind of shocked that you're able to do it for that. And I think I know I personally hope that a number of people will get behind this. And I know I've been to a few places that have a lot of pinball machines, but nothing compared to what this can be. And I was so blown away watching the video. And for those of you out there who are listening to this and wanting to know, how do I get behind this? Because you better be. Go to Kickstarter right now, like in the middle of this, because you're on the internet. You can multitask. Go in there, go to Kickstarter, and search for Museum of Pinball. You will find it right away. We definitely need your help. As of right now, we're a little bit under 17,000. We've got a few weeks left here, but we need to. We certainly need to make sure that we get to this. So,
yeah, and we've for those who are listening, I'm assuming everybody's familiar with Kickstarter, but if they're not, we set a financial goal and then we provide rewards for each level of contribution. So there's a reward for $10, $15, $20, $25, $30, $35, $50, $100, all the way up to $10,000. And so you pick the amount that you would like to contribute, and we provide a reward to you in return. If we don't raise the full $150,000, your credit card's not charged, you don't receive the reward, and we don't get a dime. And ultimately, the Museum of Pinball will be delayed in opening. So our goal, if we raise this $150,000, we've got 3 weeks left at this point, and today is July 16th, so it ends August, 8th or 9th. If we raise the $150,000, our grand opening will be in late January, early to mid-February. So it's right around the corner, and we would love people's support. Ultimate reason why we would ask you to support is not because of the reward that you get, but because you believe in passing along the passion of pinball to the next generation and spreading that passion to a broader base of people. This is a venue that not only will impact Southern California, but it really will become a destination place for people to fly in from all over the world who are passionate about the game or sport of pinball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I have to talk a little pinball just stuff with you, because I know I have a few of mine, but I have to ask, if you guys had to pick one table as like your favorite table of all time, what would it be?
Well, you got me on that. I know a lot of people probably won't like the tables that I like. I mean, I like some odd ones, but I really like Johnny Mnemonic. That's a really good game of mine. It's kind of underrated, but I really enjoy playing that game. And then for artwork and stuff like that, there's this game called Volton Escapes Cosmic Doom. I really like the artwork on that game, and it's just a beautiful backglass, great artwork, and the machine's just a beautiful machine. So I got a few favorites. So I don't know about Dave.
I'm a little embarrassed to admit it, because there aren't too many people that like this game, but because my last name is Trotter, my favorite game is the Harlem Globetrotters.
God.
Come on now. The side of that, it's red, white, and blue. It's like Americana. It's the best. The sneakers, the basketball. It's the best game ever.
Okay. One of the biggest fans of this show's last name is Stern. So when we went to a pinball place, she had fun picking out all the machines that had her name on it, because there's obviously quite a few.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I know I personally, when I was in high school once, I remember being at an arcade in San Antonio, and it was a bunch of us from high school. We were there for this like math meets, and we had gotten into an arcade, and I got with my best friend in front of High Speed, that game, and every time that we would get the little video select, and the car would drive up the map and it would land on Multiball, we would just like scream at the top of our lungs, Multiball! And it actually became kind of a nickname of mine after that, because we were just acting like stupid high schoolers. But it was one of my most endearing pinball memories personally, just playing that game. I have to admit, if I had to pick probably a favorite game, I'm gonna go with one that's, I guess, more classically well rated, if you will, and that's Addams Family. I mean, it's just a great pin. I'd love to own one myself one day. Don't get me wrong, that's a hard call, because there's so many amazing ones out there.
Yeah, it's tough.
So, I did want to ask you a little bit here, as pinball aficionados. There's have you tried playing any of the like video games? Like, I know, for example, one of the big ones out there is Pinball Arcade, and they're for PS3 and Nintendo, and I personally play it on my iPhone and iPad, where they come out with these games. Have you tried any of them? If so, what do you think?
I'll let Dave answer that. He's into those games more than me, so go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I love the work. Although Pinball Arcade is a great game, I really love the work of Zen Studios. And those guys, they put out Pinball Effects and Marvel Pinball, and they've come out with Star Wars Pinball. And, it's kind of some licensed pinball games, which will tend to attract a younger audience just because they're into the actual licensed characters. But I love their work. I love the graphics. It's a whole different experience. It's you can't shake the machine. You can't feel the flippers. It's different. It's a different experience, but it's still a fun experience nonetheless.
Yeah, it's one of those you can't always spend time in front of a pinball machine. Sometimes you have to do other things, and for me, it's like one of those, well, okay, I can't play real pinball right now, so, okay, this is the next best thing. And I'm fascinated because I feel like, especially the physics engine, is so much better now than it was even just a few years ago, because I have some old like PC pinball games, and they would frustrate me because the physics engine, it just didn't feel authentic. And I feel like they're really starting to get more of the authentic physics behind it. But I in the same respect, I completely agree with you. There's nothing like standing like behind a real machine with your hands on the flippers and being able to nudge it. And it's just there's no experience quite like it, which is why this museum has to happen.
We agree.
I figured you would.
We could not agree anymore. Yeah, we're excited about it. And one of the things that we hope people see, even though it's called a museum, this is a hands-on museum. The way it's going to work is when you show up, you pay an entry fee. It'll be $15, and about 50% of the games will be on free play. Play them as much as you want all day. And then the other 50% will be more of a premium play, and there's an additional charge. So you'll be receiving a swipe card when you come in, and you can just swipe that card to either play the free play or play with credit. And so we want it to be a place where you can walk up, you can read a little bit about the machine, about its history on a plaque next to it, and you can enjoy the artwork and see who it was created by, but you can also play it and be very hands-on museum.
That's right. Plus, we're trying to do some interactive exhibits. If the funds get a little bit higher, we want to teach people about electromechanical engineering functions, the way they work, maybe put it behind plexiglass, little buttons that you can push and see actions happen, for the older machines. And then even some on the electronical machines. So, we want to make exhibits. We want to make it so the whole family could come there and spend the day, learn a lot about pinball, and pass it on to the next generation. That's our main goal.
And as a business owner myself, I love some of the higher rewards where you can actually like adopt a pinball machine, which I thought was awesome, that you can actually sponsor one out there and have your business name on a plaque. And I think that's an awesome idea for business, especially gaming related businesses, to get in there and be a part of this. So the number of rewards that you guys have on this Kickstarter is it's crazy. There's figure out what it is that's important to you. There's probably a reward for that. And I feel like you guys did you guys have just, it's amazing. Most people who go on the Kickstarter have not done a tenth the work and research that you guys have done as far as getting to this point. And it's clear that you didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, let's put together a museum and have a Kickstarter up that night. This is clearly something you've been working on for a long time, and it shows in the quality of everything that you've done.
Yeah, and hopefully people will even check out not only the Kickstarter, but our website. It's museumofpinball.org. That's museumofpinball.org, and they can go on there and not only see photos of the facility in its current condition, they can see an overview map of the entire 18 acres, so they can see how it's laid out, and they can also look at the entire list of the pinball collection. All of the pinball machines and about 20 or so arcade machines that we own, video arcade machines, are all listed with the manufacturer, the date of manufacturing, as well as a link to a page such as the Internet Pinball Machine Database to learn more about that particular machine. So when you look at the list of pens, they're all listed by decade in alphabetical order, and you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you start to get a visual of like, wow, this is serious. This is a big endeavor, and it's going to require a large space, and ultimately it's going to require some finances in order to get it off the ground. And we're just hoping that people who are passionate about pinball will get behind this and whether it's $10 or $10,000, every single dollar makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to your website as we were talking here, and I've also noticed that you guys have a Facebook and Twitter as well. So, guys, go to the website and make sure that you're following them both on Facebook and on Twitter, because that's how we get communication these days. So it's at Museum of Pinball on Twitter, and then just search for it as well on Facebook. Well, John, David, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you talking about the museum, and I really hope that we can make this happen here, get this thing going, and I look forward to being able to come out and visit with you guys in Banning on the opening weekend as this thing opens and the dream is actually realized.
That's great. Thanks so much for having us on, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, bye. Well, that was John Weeks and David Trotter for the Museum of Pinball. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been playing this week. And by we, I mean me, because I'm the only one here this week. You are listening to the Gamers Dome on the Drawing Board Radio Network. Do you need professional, reliable dog walkers, house sitters, or cageless in-home boarding? Check out my friends over at Leash and Lodge. They use GPS tracking for their walks, so you know they're always showing up when they say they do. With a 5-star Yelp average, they're the only guys you need to know. When you sign up, mention promo code DOME to get $15 off your first invoice. Check them out now at leashandlodge.com. That's leash, A-N-D, lodge.com. Leash and Lodge, because the better way is finally here.
Do you have a bookshelf full of comic books right next to the one full of video games? Are you a Whovian? A Trekkie? Do you aim to misbehave? Are you friends with Leonard and Sheldon? Do you tabletop with Will? If you answered yes to any of these, I have a new podcast for you. Digital Nerdage, the nerd culture podcast, visits everything in the world of nerd. Check it out at www.digitalnerdage.com.
If you enjoy classic radio dramas of yesteryear, then make plans to visit the Richard Goh Theater weekends in July. Actors will entertain you with their recreation of great radio shows in front of your very ears, with live music and sound effects. Coming this weekend, a performance of Raymond Chandler's Red Wind, featuring the famous pulp detective Philip Marlowe. Performances are at 8 p.m. this Friday, July 19th and Saturday, July 20th. Tickets are only $10. The Richard Goh Theater, home of the Long Beach Shakespeare Company, is located at 4250 Atlantic Avenue in Uptown Long Beach. For tickets and more information, visit lbshakespeare.org or call 562-997-1494. That's lbshakespeare.org or call 562-997-1494.
Welcome back to the Gamers Dome. Man, I am just geeked out over that last interview. Like, seriously. Like, this is something most people don't actually... you're finding out all sorts of things about me. Apparently, I'm a closet wrestling fan, which I guess I'm not in the closet on that anymore. But I'm also a big pinball guy. I used to spend a lot of time in my youth in arcades, and I would play all sorts of pinball machines, anything I could get my hands on. I didn't care if it was new or if it was old. Don't get me wrong, my preference, I certainly like the bells and whistles of the newer machines and all the things that you can do now, but I mean, there are some of the old ones that are just as fun to play as the newer ones, and it's neat, it's cool, it's so interesting to see the evolution of pinball over time. So I'm really geeked out in general about this museum, and I can't wait to actually see it. I suppose that leads us into a little bit of what am I playing. So I'm going to go ahead and start here because I knew we were going to be talking a lot of pinball here. I probably played a little more Pinball Arcade this week than I normally would. And I don't get that much of an opportunity to get out and get in front of real pinball machines anymore, which is a shame, but it's the nature of life. But I did take what is the next best thing, and I picked up Pinball Arcade, and I've talked about it before, and they usually release tables 2 at a time, and I think they've got about 30 or so out at this point. And like I was mentioning, the physics engine's really cool. I like it because they're real machines. Like, for example, Theater of Magic is one that I really played a lot in arcades, and it was one of the first ones out for here. It's an awesome game. I love that machine, and they've got some really good ones too. They've got Star Wars, or excuse me, not Star Wars, Star Trek: The Next Generation. I lost my mind there for a moment. They've done the Twilight Zone, which is another really good one. And as a bonus Kickstarter mention here, they are currently trying to put together Terminator 2. So I don't know how many of you guys have actually tried to play Terminator 2, the pinball machine. It was one of those very unique ones as well. So if you just go on to Kickstarter here and do a search for Pinball Arcade or just Terminator 2. This is one of those we're right up against it. They need 59,000. They're at almost 51,000. So they need 8,000 more dollars, and they got 4 days to put it together here. This is, if you've not played the game, it's one of those awesome games. We need to make sure this actually happens. It's great. They've got a lot of they have a lot of things as well on there. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of their reward system though. I don't feel like I really hate to say this. I don't feel like they're giving a great value, but it doesn't matter if they're giving a great value. We need to get this machine made. And if they don't get that last $8,000, we're not going to get this machine made. And I know what they're doing. All they're doing, this money is just going to cover the licensing because Arnold's voice is not cheap. And that's why I don't do impressions, by the way, because I'm terrible at them. All the images and all the voices and everything for a machine like this, they're very expensive. And they're literally just trying to raise enough money to cover the licensing, forget the programming and everything else. So they're kind of giving the game away to the people who get in on this, which is why they're not giving a great value. But this is one of those, if you're just a pinball fan, just kind of look at it a little bit as charity, and you're getting the game for your charity. So again, they're exactly $50,982 right now, so they need $8,018 in 4 days. I know I'm going to be checking up here at the end here. Let's just get a nice little push here. If you've got the money and you're a pinball fan, throw a few bucks their way. You're going to be happy that you did. So that's our bonus Kickstarter here. So what else have I been playing? I've been playing Candy Crush. Someone shoot me. Please make me stop. Please. I think I'm at like level 303 at this point. I don't know what it is about this game. I can't figure it out. It's just addicting. It's simple. You can play it in a couple of minutes. Don't play it. Guys, don't play it. Please. Please, I'm warning you all. Don't pick it up. I don't care if I need extra lives to be able to play or extra moves. Like, don't think about me. Do it for yourself. Don't play this game. I mean, don't get me wrong. The person standing behind you in the supermarket's playing it, and virtually everyone else around you is, but don't join them and me. You'll be sad you did. And the last, but certainly not least, I went to the M14 pre-release. I went to Melrose Music and Comics here in Los Angeles, and I met up with a great group of people there. A little bit of a small for a pre-release, but then again, it was a main set. I went out Saturday and I played in their 10 a.m. tournament. That might have been it. It was Saturday at 10 a.m. And we did a little 16-man tournament, and I ended up going undefeated in it. Yay! I got a little lucky. I had some good draws throughout the day, so I got a little share of first place, and The new set's interesting. I like the fact that they are producing new cards for the base set, which is not something they used to do many years ago, but they have been doing the last few sets. It's fun. It gives people a reason to actually buy the base set and play the base set and learn the base set. And I feel like they do a better job of optimizing it for draft environment and sealed deck. And it was a lot of fun, and I always love playing a little bit of live Magic. There's nothing quite like having the cards in your hand. I hadn't really had a chance to do that since Vegas, so I was good to do that. So we have now once again come to the end of another show. I would like to obviously thank all of our sponsors here. And I mean, there's a few in particular I want to mention. There's one very specific one, and it's the new ones we've got here, Loot Crate. Guys, you heard my pitch for Loot Crate. Hopefully you didn't tune me out. Well, hopefully you're not tuning me out now. Loot Crate's awesome. They send you this box every month, and you just don't know what it's going to be in there. Like this last month, it was... there was a box in it. There was like these 8-bit sunglasses and this shirt with like a Ninja Kool-Aid man. And there's always some candy because, I mean, who doesn't like candy? And stickers and all sorts of stuff. It's like $13.37. I think you can actually get it cheaper if you sign up on like a 6-month plan. But go there, promo code DOME, gets you 10% off, so you get it even cheaper. I'm not pushing them because they're sponsoring or anything. I'm pushing them because I like them, and I think it's an awesome product. I think it's cool. I'm sure some of you have wives and girlfriends that get Birch boxes and stuff like that, and this is kind of similar to that. So go to lootcrate.com, promo code DOME. I think you're going to like a lot of the stuff that you get out of there. And certainly if you're in the Long Beach area and you want to get a little bit of culture, the Long Beach Shakespeare Company has all sorts of stuff going on, so I want to thank them for signing on here as well. Thank you, of course, to all of our other sponsors and everyone else. I want to thank a lot of people. I especially would like to thank Melissa Stern. Melissa Stern, you have pretty much saved our show by letting me know about all the technical problems that were going on that I just can't catch when I have these headphones on. So I'm very specifically thanking you for everything that you've done to help make this particular show happen. Thank you, Sean, for helping to point out some news items which I had missed this week. And I know I'm missing other people, but I love you all. I love you all, even you. So we will be back again next week. Make sure you're following us on Facebook and Twitter at The Gamers Dome. Until next time, I am Scott Gerhardt for The Gamers Dome, and keep playing, everyone. Bye.